Responsibility versus accountability. I think that those two words get confused a lot. And let's start with an easy question of, can you be responsible for something without being accountable for it? And the answer is yes. Responsibilities are task driven, where accountability is result driven, outcome driven. Who takes ownership of how something turned out? A good way to think about this is with our kids. We give them responsibilities all the time of things that they need to be doing, that we know that they can do, but they're not really responsible for the outcome of their upbringing. They're not really responsible for, or I mean, held accountable for, how they become, who they grow into. Not at certain levels in their life. As they get older, that changes. But those younger years, when we're having them do chores and homework and things like that, and they're learning different responsibilities, they're not held accountable for the overall quality of their life and who they're becoming. Another analogy that can be used is in the work field. Think about when you're a project manager and you delegate responsibilities to multiple people. They're completely capable of doing it. And maybe they're even capable of being a project manager. But at the end of the day, you are accountable as the project manager. You are accountable for the overall outcome. So who is accountable for your goals? That, I think, can be tricky, especially when you hire a personal trainer or a nutritionist or you go to a doctor. But you are still accountable because it is your project, if that makes sense. You're giving a personal trainer the responsibility list of guiding you to the right exercise and possibly nutrition if they do both. You are giving your doctor the responsibility of helping you figure out what your blood work means and what you need to do to improve that, so on and so forth. But it's your project and you are steering the ship. If you are working in an area that is not working for you, then if you feel like it's something that you need to tweak or adjust, then go to the person who you have laid that responsibility with and talk to them. Or go back to your doctor or find somebody new that you feel like is going to understand your needs a little bit better. But make no mistake about it, it's your project. You are held accountable for it, which honestly is not a bad thing. You also get to own the results. And if you're in the middle of working some goals that you've been struggling with, that may not feel that good to know that you're responsible for the tasks and to making sure everything gets done. You're going to be held accountable for whatever comes of it, and you're not really getting very far. And so I don't really even want these results. But those little annoyances make the reward that much bigger when you get there. I promise. I've been there. I have had to do hard things physically. I've had to overcome many, many challenges of my own. And they feel the best when they were the hardest to come by. Because I know the ins and the outs of how hard I had to push, how hard I had to try, how hard I had to dial in my processes to make sure I got there. And when I eventually get there, sure, I'm glad that people helped me with their responsibilities, their tasks, but I know that I never put my project down, that I made sure that I stayed the course until I figured out how to get what I was working for. And so that experience is going to be for each of us over and over and over, not just in fitness, but we can see that in our careers, in family struggles, in communities, all across to over and over. We can see where when we hold ourselves accountable to the end result, we proceed differently. One last analogy. For all of you that are project managers, or actually even in the family, any unit you want to think about, consider this. Consider if every single person took on the attitude of being held accountable for their own actions, okay? Think about how much further you would be in a week, in a month, in a quarter, in a year, if all of your team, if all of your family held themselves to the highest standard, and that is what they held themselves accountable for. Whether it be their duties at work, or their standards at school, or the way they conducted themselves in your home or out of there, or whatever it be. The people that are inflicting the biggest challenges, or even consider those that are always a team player, if all of these people shifted to holding themselves to the highest accountability, how far would you be? How much easier would life be? Now place that inside of yourself. How much further would you be? How closer would you be to where you wanted to be if you held yourself to the highest standard of accountability to your own goals? And that's how you showed up every single day. Just consider that for a minute, because maybe that's the answer right there. And that's